This is the final video in a tutorial series where we'll be making a wave defense game. In the last video, people were asked to vote on what we would do in this video, and they picked enemy AI. So we'll be giving all of the enemies a unique movement pattern or ability, and then we'll finish the project with a couple of touches, including mobile controls because people have been asking for it. So let's jump in. Now, the quickest way to give your enemies some movement is to use the Boids extension, which I kind of overuse, but it's really good for giving basic enemies some more interesting movement. So we'll just give that behavior to the ghost enemy. There we go. And now go to enemies, and instead of telling it to move, I'm going to tell it to go towards the center using the Boids extension. I'm going to tell it to go towards an object, and the object is the center. Decision weight, we'll just start with 10 and see how that works. And now we'll preview the game. Okay, that's way too fast. And they were rotating. So let's turn off rotation and turn down the max speed a lot. And let's see how that works out. There it comes. Still too fast. And it's kind of beelining for the center. So we need to change that as well. Let's change the decision weight down to 2 and see what that does. Change it to 0.5. See if that helps. Oh, there we go. Now we're getting that kind of I'll be there eventually behavior. That's what I want. I'm gonna tweak the values a little bit and then come back. Okay, there we go. So I've tweaked the speeds a little bit and I've changed it so that now the ghost tries to avoid the player. So when you're playing the game, you can try to chase them off away from the center, which makes them a much more interesting and kind of dynamic enemy, but also makes them a little random. So if you get your hands on this game, you might want to tweak the values on these things. All right, now I'm going to do the same thing to the imp, but I'm going to make it different on how they approach the center. I'll give them the same behavior. Leave all that alone. I want them to be even slower than the ghost. Not rotate. I don't want them to be afraid of the player. Okay. And now I'm also going to give them the fire bullet extension as well, so they can fire at the center. There we go. Let's make their firing cooldown every 4 seconds. Put one into the scene. Going to create a new object, sprite. Okay, so we'll go here, make a new group, imp, and we'll make it so that when the imp is No. we changed the fire rate in the extension itself, or the behavior itself, to 4 seconds. So we can just make it shoot or fire bullet towards a position from the imp. Oh no, wait. Fire the bullet. Nope, here. Fire the bullet from the imp. And we'll go from the imp's center, X and Y, to the center objects, center, X and Y. And make it go at 50, I guess. Okay, and we'll see if that works. It should fire there it is, yep. Okay, great. The bullet's a little bit out of alignment because I haven't changed the points. Change its origin to its center. Now see how it looks. There we go, great. And now we'll change this down to 40. And we'll change the imp's movement speed down slower. Go 10 and 10. All right, now I want to make this so that you can block these bullets with your own body, because why not? I can do what I want to. And you can change this if you open the example later and want a different thing. So let's create a new event here. If the enemy bullet is in collision with the player, delete enemy bullet. So that way you have a way to combat these bullets when they fly in. So when they shoot the bullet, yeah, I can run into it and stop it. All right. I will want to change the player's collision mask, I think, a little bit. Yep. Let's bring this down. Okay. All right, and that is the imp done. And now for the spider. I'm not going to use Boyd's movement for the spider because that gives like a floating effect. Instead, I'm going to use points and spawn the spider and use the movement behavior that we've already got set up. So I'm going to duplicate this and call this the spider spawn. And put a couple points in here. Here and here. Maybe a couple more. There we go. Okay, and I'm going to add another object in. Call this shadow. If you've ever seen those hand enemies, the evil hand enemies from Zelda back in the day, this is what I'm doing. Adding a new sprite object. Call this drop. Great, change the center point to the center. Oh wait, no. It needs to be the same as the spider. So spider's points, its origin is 1222. Cancel. Shadow points 1222. And the drop object 1222. And this is only going to work because the shadow image and the drop image are both the exact same size as the spider image, the full size of it. And now we go to the spawning. And we're going to create both of those objects, shadow and the drop. Move the spider down here. Add a wait action. Let's say 1 second. And I need to give both of these objects the tween behavior. Tween. Wait. Not tween, Z order. Just the normal tween. Okay. Drop. Add the tween behavior. There it is. All right, and then tween. Y position. Now we'll start with scale. We'll call the tween grow and we'll go to full scale. Easing can be linear, I guess. Again, this can be changed because it's not a big deal. 1000 milliseconds and then destroy. I'm not going to scale from the center. I'm going to scale from the origin, I believe. Move this here. We're going to change the spot that this spawns at to the spider spawn point. And the same thing for the drop object. We'll pick a random spider spawn point. And we'll do another tween for the Y position of the drop object. We'll call this drop. And we'll go down 100, so we fall down 100. And again, we'll stick with linear. 1000 milliseconds, destroy object when it's done. All right, so these here are here. Now we need to spawn above the spider spawn point 100 pixels. So that way when we drop, we go, hold on, negative. Negative is up. And so that way when we drop, we go from 100 above down to the actual position itself. Also spawn at the same spider spawner. What's going to happen is we're going to spawn these objects, tween them to the right position, and then have the spider spawn at those positions when they get destroyed by the tweening event. I'm going to change this to 0 for right now to make it force the spiders to spawn first. Hey, there's one. Okay, all right. So they are dropping. Not exactly greatly, but they're dropping properly. What's not happening is a scale event. So we'll scale the sprite object of the shadow to 0. So then it's going to start at 0 and go to tween up. So let's try that. Oh, there we go. There's another one. So now it looks like they're falling from the ceiling. I'm going to change the position of that spawning point though, because that's a bit weird. Let's change the spawning point to the center. There we go. And perfect. Oh, I'm going to actually, beginning of scene, hide those spider spawners. So they're still there, we just can't see them. Okay, cool. And now you can see the spiders are dropping. And because the object that's dropping is not the spider itself, I can't shoot it. All right, great. So now we have 3 unique enemies that all act differently. The ghost kind of hovers around and meanders its way to the center. The spider runs towards the center after dropping from the ceiling. And the imp will actually fire a fireball that I didn't code properly. Hold on. Okay, game over. We'll also add if the enemy bullet hits the center, game over. So we need to use or, and then put this inside of the or condition. So now, if the enemy gets to the center, or if the enemy bullet gets to the center, it's game over and we start over. Now let me just playtest that to make sure it actually works. And as a nice twist, the ghosts now being afraid of you means that they won't go towards the center. So you'll kind of have an ever increasing swarm of ghosts around the center until you choose to run off and grab the experience points or run off to try to protect the center from one of the fireballs. Now, there's one thing I did notice though, and that's that these enemies aren't necessarily looking the right way anymore because the code has changed for how they spawn. So, I'm gonna need to change this forever. So they won't just do it when they spawn, they'll do it always. Okay, now I need to fix a bug that somebody mentioned in one of the earlier comments. The leveling up layer exists whether or not you can see it. So even during gameplay, if you click where that button is on screen, you will get that level up without the experience points required. Okay, so the button's clicked, so we need to add a second condition here for if the layer is currently visible. So we can search for visibility of a layer, the leveling up layer. So we will only be able to click on the button if the leveling up layer is actually showing. So that bug is now fixed. Great. Now the last thing I want to do in this video, before I run out of time, is add mobile controls because people have been asking for that and it's really quick. So watch this. Joystick. I like these joysticks. Okay, we'll create another layer. Call this mobile controls. We'll call this movement. Plop this down, shrink it down a little bit because it's a bit big. You can find the size you want. Maybe a little bigger, there we go. And then I will duplicate this and call it aiming. All right, so now movement and aiming. For the player, I'm going to go to behaviors, add a behavior, and once you've added a joystick, you should have top-down multi-touch controller mapper. Top-down movement, analog, great. So I've added the behavior to the player, I press preview. I've got to put the object on the layer, right. Mobile controls, okay, preview. Top-down behavior plus this, plus the mapper behavior, and it works. Now for aiming. Let's plop this one down, make it the same size, so 96 by 96, and roughly the same spot. Okay. All right, now for this, it's going to be a little bit trickier, but we'll collapse all of this, go to the player, go to gun, check if this is a mobile device, and change this to not. Make a new action, move that there. All right, so if it's not a mobile device, we will rotate the gun towards the cursor. If it is a mobile device, we will rotate the gun towards the angle. Angular speed 0. Angle of that joystick. So joystick. Stick angle. I think it's 2. And secondary. We will make sure that's right. So we go to here, go to aiming, change this to 2, and make this secondary. All right. And so now, because I'm on a laptop and this is not a mobile device, I'm going to just remove that condition really quickly and disable that, just for testing. And put this on the mobile control layer. There we go. So now the gun aims in the direction of the joystick. Great. Okay, so this will work. It's just the problem is that it's fighting two conflicting orders. So we will copy these and disable both of these right now, just for testing. And there we go. Now the gun and the player rotate with the joystick. Because we're using the condition joystick pushed in a direction, and then using the proper number and joystick name, and then the direction. So if it's pushing right, it's gonna not flip, and if it's pushing left, it will flip. Just like when the cursor was on one side or the other of the player. And now we will use the condition mobile device. And again, but inverted. All right. And then put this here, and we are good. So if it's not a mobile device, it's going to use the cursor's position. If it is a mobile device, it will rotate towards the joystick's angle. And then for the flipping, this will happen. We do need to change it though, so that, or to here, either the left joystick or mouse button is down. No, hold on. And. Okay, back to the mobile device thing. So if it's not a mobile device, this is an and condition. If the left mouse button is pushed down and it's not a mobile device, then this will be true. This is an or condition. So if that is true, or the joystick is pushed down, let's try that. Okay, so if it's above 0, if the force on the joystick is above 0, so it's being moved at all. Yeah, so when I'm clicking anywhere else, it doesn't work. Holding the joystick does work. So I've got movement and joystick. We'll change that back to not a mobile device, and we have our controls all set up. Sorry if it looks a little bit complicated, but you need to have separate controls for mobile and not mobile. So, all right. That's the game. We'll move this down below the transition so you can't see it when you first start the game. And we will set it up so that, copy this. If it is not a mobile device, we will just delete the mobile controls, which are movement and aiming. So now when I start the game and it's not a mobile device, because it's my laptop, they're gone, and the game plays normally. All right. And that has been the entire series on making a wave defense game. If you want to learn some more things about game development using GDevelop, check out this playlist, or if you want to see some cool GDevelop games, check out this playlist.